We just finished, Hakeem and I finished meeting with the President and the two Republican leaders. We had candid, frank discussions. It was a real discussion. And the two issues that we focused on were, number one, health care. The American people are hurting in their health care. The American people, we're seeing hospitals close. We're seeing people laid off. We're seeing people not being able to get the health care they need. And the American people are crying out for some help. It is our job as legislative leaders to try and solve this problem, or at least fix the problem. And we focused in the room in particular on the ACA and its extension. And the other issue that was sharply drawn were rescissions, impoundments, and pocket rescissions, where we made the point clear that how could we negotiate a bipartisan agreement and then have the President unilaterally through impoundment, or the Republican Party through rescissions, and the President unilaterally through pocket rescissions, undo it all without any input. So we made these arguments very strongly, and the particular focus was on health care. When we made these arguments, it was clear there was a division, or possible division, between the President and the two Republican leaders. The Republican leaders were adamant that they do nothing on rescission, and they just wanted to kick the health care problem down the road. Well, they've been kicking it down the road since March. And in fact, I made the point clear to the President and to the legislative leaders, as did Leader Jeffries, that this meeting should have occurred much earlier, but it didn't. But there was a real division, because when we talked to the President about the problems in health care, I mentioned to him a woman I had met who was crying because she said her daughter's losing her health care. Her daughter has cancer. She doesn't want to sit there and watch her daughter suffer and even die. And when we talked to him about the other issues, he was not aware that Americans would pay, so many Americans, tens of millions of Americans, would pay huge increases in their health care, bills because of the ACA expiring in December. And he was not aware that the real effect of that starts October 1st, not December 31st. So it seemed from his body language and some of the things he said that he was not aware of the ramifications of the detritus, the bad implications on health care for Americans, nor the argument about rescissions. So how do we solve this problem? Well, we told the President he can solve the problem by demanding of the legislative leaders, of Thune and of Johnson, that we'd start off with the ACA, just take our provision on the ACA and put it in their bill, and take our provisions, it's all in our bill, so it doesn't have to be legislatively changed or gone over, on rescissions and on impoundment and on pocket rescissions, and add it to their bill, and we could avoid a shutdown. But it's in the President's hands whether to avoid a shutdown or not. He has to convince the Republican leaders. Now we know why they didn't want him to meet with us. But finally they did, because their view is take this partisan bill. They call it a clean bill. Clean equals partisan. And I reminded the Republican leaders, that when we were in the majority, we always negotiated these bills. And that's why there were no shutdowns in the 4 years I was majority leader. We negotiated the bills. Each side got something. They had some input. We've had no input. Leader Jeffries had no input from Johnson. I had no input from Thune. And they say, well, the appropriators talked. They did talk on 3 bills. We're glad about that. But on the issues of health care and on rescissions, the appropriators, the 4 appropriators said they can't resolve it, kick it up to the 4 corners. But it's now in the President's hands. He can avoid a shutdown if he gets the Republican leaders to go along with what we want. And if they don't, the American people are going to know they had a partisan bill that the president's in charge, and he admitted in the room, I said, you know, the president gets the blame for this stuff. He admitted that. And that health care, the American people want us to do just what we're doing. Hakeem.